Namaste, Hare Krishna, Kia ora. Okay, today we're making a green leaf curry, spinach or otherwise, with paneer, fresh cheese. I'll show you how to do that. Alternatively, if you're not into the paneer, I'll show you how to cook some potatoes and add that to the green leaves. And I'll show you how to make the paneer and a few other little tricks. So are you ready? Let's get into it. Okay, so I had mentioned 2 litres of milk. I've given all the list of ingredients in this, so I'm not going to go over the specific details of how much. I had mentioned 2 litres of milk. I'm doing less just to show you how to make the paneer, because I've already made paneer, because paneer ideally needs some time to firm up, to get more harder so it doesn't all break apart. So I've already made some with 2 litres. So I'm just using a small amount of milk now, just to give you an idea how to make it. And so on the stove, you've got gas or electric, doesn't matter. Just use a pot for the milk that has a good thick base, so you don't burn it. You don't want to burn the milk, of course. And what I've found is, over time, that you put the cold milk into the cold pot. So don't heat up the pot on the stove and then put cold milk into it. You put the cold milk into a cold pot and then bring it to the stove, otherwise it'll scorch, it'll catch on the bottom. So once you've started like that, I just leave it, I don't stir it until it's about ready to boil. What we're doing now is just we're going to boil the milk, and then we're going to add a sour agent. So that is a few options, either lemon juice or yogurt, or last choice is citric acid, so we'll explain more about that later. Some people use vinegar. Generally we don't use vinegar. According to Ayurveda, it fits into the tamagun, which means the mode of ignorance. So we try to avoid foods that are in the mode of goodness, try to use foods in the mode of goodness. Sattvaguna. So there's, a bit more detail there. If someone's interested, we can talk about that. And also, if you have any questions while we're going along, you can either ask at the end, or you can ask during the cooking class. And Jayanti, who's the camera lady, she can just tell us what you're asking, and we can see if we can give you an answer. So also, what we want to do is we've got our green leaves. So I mentioned about 6 cups of green leaves. That's fully packed. You have to press them in to get 6 cups. It's about, if you're looking at weight, it's about half a kg, 1 pound of green leaves. So the most common one used is spinach, and we'll talk about different options. But I don't have that at the moment growing in the garden, so I've got silver beet or Swiss chard and some other things, so I've put those in. So I don't have spinach in here. It's a mixture of different leaves. So I've got half a kg of leaves in there. So, and I've also got a cup of water in there, and we're just going to boil that together, steam that, boil that with a lid on until it's softened up, cooked a bit. And the milk's not far away, which is good. We don't want to overcook the leaves, because then it'll lose its nice bright green colour. So we just want to blanching it basically. And why we're doing this is because we want to blend it up. And to blend it, it has to be cooked a little bit. Otherwise, it's just raw leaves. It's not gonna blend so well. And also, apart from that, there's oxalic acid in many green leaf plants, which is not so good for the health. So eating raw green leaves in some cases might not be so beneficial as what we think. So according to Ayurveda and other people, they know that certain things like the green leaves, it's better to cook them a little bit, and that removes the oxalic acid like that. If you're really sensitive, to oxalic acid. You can even take it a step further, and this cup of water that's in there, after it's steamed, you can drain that out. You can drain that out and just puree the leaves. If you're not, you can just leave the water in there, and that's what we're going to do. We're just going to blend it up with the water in there. So that's a couple of little things there. And we're also going to show you, because in the recipe it's mentioned garam masala. So garam means hot or sweet, and masala means spices. So I've already roasted a little bit. So this is a cast iron pan. You don't have to use one of these. Just the stainless steel one is fine. And but this gives a very nice regulated heat with this thick cast iron, so I've used that. And there's heaps of recipes for garam masala. So this is just one of the many that I use. I'll just put it down because it's quite heavy. And so the ingredients of this, and I'll explain why to go to this extent to do your own garam masala fresh from whole spices rather than just the powder. Because we've said it before, that anything powdered you buy, one thing is it could have been sitting around for months or years, so it's lost maximum amount of the good properties of the whole spices are lost. Apart from that, the guys that are selling it to you, they're just basically interested in making a buck. So they might have mixed it with, our guru said, sawdust and so forth. So to really know what's in the food that you're eating, better you prepare it from the raw materials and process that yourself, and then you 100% you've got what you want, and also it's nice and fresh. And the taste of store-bought pre-powdered garam masala versus homemade garam masala from whole spices is incomparable. The smell, the flavour is so much. You won't need very much in the meal, and it'll taste amazing. So we're not going to put all of this in this dish, but we'll just use half a teaspoon or whatever, and the rest of it we'll put it in a sealed container when it's cooled down, and then you can use it over a few weeks or whatever like that. So what I put in here is the maximum spices in here, quantity-wise, is cumin seeds and coriander seeds, and then less of cinnamon stick, cardamom pods, one or two dry red chilies, and some cloves. So those are the basic garam masala recipe. You can get heaps of them online or in different recipe books, different recipes, more complicated ones with more things, but that's just one basic one. So that's already roasted, so you just roast it at a sort of low to medium heat and stir it every now and again until a bit of smoke will come off and some nice aroma will come, and they'll darken up a bit. Don't do it till they get blackened, just slightly they'll darken up a bit, and that's all good. So we'll leave that aside to cool down, and we'll blend that up in a... You can either use a coffee grinder or a spice grinder to grind them up once they're cooled down, or a good old mortar and pestle. It's a little bit hard if you've got the cinnamon sticks in there to do this by hand. You can, but it's a little bit difficult, so if you've got an electric one, that's good. The roasting process, applying the heat there, releases the good properties. If you just use raw spices, like you could have just ground up in your coffee grinder raw spices, but then you're not going to get the full health benefit and flavour from that. So applying the heat is very important to release the properties of the spices. So our milk now is pretty much boiling. This is always good if you've got one of these, a flat spoon, either steel or wood, so you can stir at the bottom, and if there's any bits that are catching on the bottom, you can remove that. So when you use your spoon, go right to the bottom of the pot, just don't play around on the top. you actually want to stir everywhere, and it's an extension of your hand, the spoon, so you can feel what's going on at the bottom of the pot, because burnt milk is not very nice. And of course, be careful that it doesn't boil over. So that's why I don't have a lid on it, because I don't want it to boil over and make a mess and waste this precious milk. The cows work very hard to produce this, so we don't want to waste the milk. We'll check our spinach. Don't have your head over the top because there's going to be a lot of steam coming out. Yeah, I'd say that's good enough. I'll just give that a stir, get a spoon. Bring that more into the visibility. Yeah, so you just soften it a bit.
Why is the color red?
Because the question is, why is the colour red? Because some of the leaves I use have a red veins, red stem, red veins. So this is a kind of Swiss chard. I'm just going to get some water to drink. This is a good device too, highly recommend. A copper pot, which we keep our water in. Copper actually, it has the effect of killing any bacteria and other living entities, little greeblies, in the water that you don't want inside your body. And our water also, it comes not from, you know, a treatment plant, but it comes down the mountain in a river with a stony bottom, so it comes down the mountain. So just there might be some living things in the water, you never know, but it doesn't really matter, your immune system will take care of them. But this is traditional in many cultures, that you keep your water in a copper vessel. And you get some copper in you too, small amounts of copper, which is good for the health. Okay. So, now we want to curdle the milk. Curdle the milk. So that's another name of paneer, is curd. So little Miss Muffet sat in her tuffet eating curds and whey. So if we curdle this milk, we'll end up with curds and then whey. So when the milk's come to a boil, then you add a sour agent. In this case, lemon. I've got the little sieve here because I don't. If there's any seeds in there, I don't want the seeds to go in. I'm not giving a quantity for the lemon because it depends on your milk how much sour agent to curdle it, and it depends on how sour the lemon is as well. So I'm not giving a quantity, but you just squeeze a little bit at a time until you'll first of all see little lumps coming in it, which hasn't happened yet. And then at a certain point, not just the lumps, but the background white colour will change to a greeny yellow colour, and that'll be your whey. And you keep it gently boiling while you're doing this. If you let it cool down, then it's harder to make it into paneer, to curdle it. And that means you'll need more sour agent, which potentially can cause it to be more tough and rubbery. And why don't you want to add too much sour agent? Because if you add too much, it can become hard and rubbery, the paneer. And you don't want to be chewing on a rubber boot. And often what you buy in the supermarket is pretty hard because they've also pressed it. They've also
made from citric acid.
And they've used citric acid, yep, which is not so nice and not so natural. And yeah, they pressed it, so it's quite hard. Just going to get a little bit more lemon. So as soon as it curdles, then you stop adding the sour agent. Don't keep putting more once it's curdled. And once again, if you make your own paneer, you'll never go back to buying paneer from the supermarket. There's no comparison. So now, I don't know if you can see that, but there's little lumps. There's little lumps coming. Little lumps. Oh, how's that going? Looks like it's about ready. A little bit more. Okay, that's done. Let's see if we can get into a better light for you to see what it looks like. How's that? Can you see that? Okay, so there's your curd and that greenish, yellowish liquid in the background. That's your whey. So you can leave it. You can leave it for a minute or two in there. You don't have to take it up straight away, but if you do leave it in too long, because it's sitting in all that sour whey, because most of the sourness is in the whey, not in the curd, so it's going to get more tougher. So within a few minutes is good if you get it out. I'll just take it out now. There's no need to wait around too long. Waste not, want not. Take it off it's on the spoon there. There's different ways you can do it. What you could do is you can pour it through. So you need a colander. You need something underneath to hold the liquid, and you need something to take it out. Either you can use a spoon with holes in it like this to get it out, or you can put it in there. So you could either tip it in, and then you don't need a spoon. Or you can take it out with a spoon. I prefer to use like this little sieve and then just grab a bit. If there's a bit of liquid it goes in, doesn't matter because it's going to just drain out naturally. Okay, so when you keep going through and there's really nothing more coming out, that's it. That's only a very small amount because remember I've only used about 2 cups of milk, not the 2 litres that I've mentioned, but that's just to show you how to do it. Wash this straight away because it gets hard to clean otherwise.
Why didn't you just pour the entire thing in there?
If you pour it in, because it's quite a aggressive technique, then you can get bits of paneer that'll go through the holes. It'll go through the holes. So I don't want to lose any little bits, because it's made up of small bits of the fat, the paneer. So I don't want to lose it going through those holes. So it's just a bit more of a gentle approach. Doing that, and this whey also, don't throw that down the drain or whatever. This is good stuff, good for your health. You know, whey protein powder, right? All the weightlifters, bodybuilders and that get the whey protein powder, lots of protein, and you know, there's so much protein you can get as a vegetarian, and this is one source. This is one source of the protein. So you can add this to your soups, where if you've got you need some liquid, some stock for your soup. You can add, it'll have a bit of a sour flavour, so especially if you want a sour flavour in whatever you're cooking. You can put this as the liquid in the curry. We even make breads, you know, chapatis, rotis and stuff with this as well, even purees. You can make it from the way as the liquid. And dals, the lentils, you can add this after the dal's cooked. So when your legume lentils have cooked, then you can add this. If you add this before it's cooked, then it prevents the dal, the lentil, from cooking properly. So you just boil the dal in water and then you add this later on. So what you would do at this point is, if you have time, if you make it ahead of time, like at least a couple of hours I'd say, if you let it drain naturally, it'll firm up. It'll automatically, any water in it will just drain out by gravity, and it'll firm up, and then you can just tip it out and cut it up, which we'll show you in a while what to do there. Otherwise, if you're in a rush, you've got to press it. So you're gonna need to put some kind of plate on it with some heavy object like a mortar and pestle or whatever, a pot of water, you know, some water on top. So obviously it has to be clean. So something clean has to be there, and then you can put your heavy weight on it a bit, just to press out the juice. And then if you pressed it, you could probably use it within half an hour. But if you're not going to press it, then maybe a couple of hours. And I prefer not to press it because a little bit of juice in there is really nice. It's nice and succulent, very juicy and succulent, rather than sort of dry and rubbery kind of thing like that. So I personally prefer not to press it unless I'm in a hurry like that. So that's the process. And this is the one I made a couple of hours ago. That's the paneer I made a couple of hours ago, from about 2 litres or so, a bit less maybe. So that's that. And okay, what are we going to do now? Now we can blend up our green leaves. So we'll go ahead with this. So traditionally, I mean, they'd put this in a blender, put the leaves with a bit of water in the blender. Of course, if you're going to put it in plastic or whatever, then let it cool down. And also, if you put hot liquids in here, then it can tend to go out through the roof. So it'll push the lid off, or you've got to hold the lid down, so it's quite full on. But now with this nice invention of a stick blender, especially because it's a steel, so it's not plastic, we can use that. But it's going to make a bit of noise, unfortunately.
Well, even the blender makes noise.
Yeah, the blender makes noise, everything makes noise.
This way you don't use many pots.
Eh?
This way you don't have to use more pots and things like that.
Yes, yes, yes.
More efficient.
Okay, that's good enough. It doesn't have to be super duper fine. So what I did, I just washed the leaves, obviously, and check for any bugs. If it's homegrown, there might be some slugs or snails there or whatever. So check, remove any foreign objects, and give it a rinse. And then I didn't even cut it up. I didn't even cut it up because it's going to get blended. So no need to muck around and waste your time chopping up the leaves. So just the whole leaves, whatever shape they are, just boil them like what we did in a cup of water or so, and then away you go. So that's your pureed spinach. There is another way of doing it, this dish, without pureeing it. You don't have to, but then you would have to cut the leaves up. You would have to cut the leaves up. And so I'll explain, if you're going to do it that way, without blending, how you would do that. I'll explain that a little bit later, when we get to another point. So now what we're going to do, we're going to get another pot. So once again, reasonably thick base, whatever shape. Now this is some lovely clarified butter that we made here ourselves by melting butter. This liquid gold, molten gold. So I'm going to add some this one. If you don't want to use the clarified butter, the ghee, then just use whatever oil you want. I mean, I recommend if you're going to use oil, use coconut oil. It's the best for the health, according to my research. Or some other minimally refined oil without trans fat and all that stuff, not hydrogenated. Like that. There's a few of them you can get. Sesame oil, mustard oil, a few that haven't been hydrogenated and have contained trans fats. But yeah, coconut oil is a good one. So you just melt the ghee and let it get hot a bit. So this time you can have it quite hot, quite a hot temperature. While we're waiting for that to heat up, we'll do our spices. And I'm going to use this to cook some potatoes, so that's on the heat. Okay, a bit of noise once again. There you go, your homemade garam masala. Homemade garam masala. If you use cinnamon sticks, just snap them in half or so when you're roasting them. Because if you get a whole stick 5 centimeters long, you put it in a tiny little spice grinder. Sometimes it'll get stuck and jam it, and then you've blown up your spice grinder. So snap any whole cinnamon sticks into little short pieces. And then you put that, when it cools down, in a sealed container, and it'll still stay pretty fresh for a few weeks or so. No worries. But we'll use some of that today, and we'll also heat up some ghee and another one.
The garam masala smells nice.
Jointy's saying the garam masala smells very nice. So, what am I doing? That's the question. This is not part of the Palak Paneer, the spinach and paneer recipe. This is for like if you don't have paneer, or you don't want paneer because you're a vegan, or you don't want it, or whatever like that. So I'm going to show you how to cook potatoes. Now this is going to be useful because potatoes is very commonly used in different curries. So I'm showing you one way how to cook the potatoes, other than just boiling them in water. So you get any kind of pot. It could be a regular kind of pot, or cast iron. One thing, cast iron is very good. it can help you to achieve a very interesting effect, which is that it can allow the vegetable to burn a little bit on the bottom. Why would you want that? Because it gives a very crusty little layer. It can give you that effect, whether you put the potato or cauliflower or whatever it is, eggplant or capsicum. It'll allow, if you don't stir it, just put the lid on, it'll allow it to catch a little bit, and that gives you a very special flavour, like caramelising this sort of vegetable, whatever. So I got my potatoes already cut up. I just kept them in water. If you don't want your potatoes to get brown, if you've cut them ahead of time, just keep them in water. It also removes a bit of starch. So this idea I'm showing you now, you could use this for many other curries. Like you could do a potato and cauliflower curry, potato and broccoli, or potato and capsicum and tomato, or whatever. Potato and peas and tomato, like that. So this will give you an idea how to cook the potatoes. Alternatively, what you can do is deep fry the potatoes or any other vegetable. So you get your wok and put some oil or ghee. This has got coconut oil in here, and you heat it up. When it's hot, then you just add those, carefully add, don't drop it from a great height or put your finger in there. Just add the potatoes, and they can fry. We can even show you, we can show you that one too. I'll just keep this over on the heat to let it warm up. We want a good amount of heat now. So yeah, if you're just making a spinach and paneer, you don't. This is not for that. This is the alternative one for like doing potatoes with the spinach. So now we're going to work on the spinach and paneer prep. First of all, you just check that the ghee or oil is hot enough. So there's a few things I've got ready for what we're going to need. So this is the cumin seeds, very commonly used spice in Indian cooking, very good for the health. All these spices and that have amazing health properties. So how to know if it's hot enough? This process is called a chonk, C-H-A-U-N-K, chonk, which is basically frying spices. So you have to heat the spices to get the benefit and the flavour. I showed you one way, by dry roasting them. This is the other way, by putting them in hot ghee or oil, that's roasting them. So you need to do one or the other process. So how to know if it's hot enough? Obviously it's billowing smoke. It's hot enough, which you don't really want to burn the oil or the ghee. But if you can't see any smoke or whatever, then just drop, a few pieces in. And if it's hot enough, you'll see this, which it is hot enough, I know now. You'll get little bubbles, and it'll move around and spit and jump around like that. So try not, obviously, to have wet hands at this point or anything wet, because oil and water don't mix, so it'll spit and everything if you have any water. So that is hot enough. So I've got to get my spoon. Put it there, ready. So I'm going to put all the cumin seeds in. That's in the recipe, and you can see them jumping around, if you can hear it cooking. Yeah. Ginger, cut up ginger, either grated or finely cut, or you can even smash it up in the mortar and pestle. This is a bit wet, obviously, a bit of water there, so there will be a bit of a reaction Well, I'm putting something wet in there. So just frying out a bit. And some fresh green chilli. If you're allergic to chilli, then you don't have to put that. Once again, it's a bit wet, so there will be a bit of a reaction there. Ginger and chilli both have heat. Now, heat is very important in the meal for helping to digest the food, because obviously the ghee or the oil or whatever, the dairy, the paneer, has got fat. So to help your digestion to break down the fat, you need some heat, according to Ayurveda, to assist your digestive process. So that's what we're doing. So this is our own turmeric root, which I've smashed up in a mortar and pestle. So we've got that, so I'm going to use it. But alternatively, you just use your turmeric powder. Use a bit of turmeric powder. But this is just the fresh root that I've smashed up. So I'm just going to put this in momentarily. Oh, no, because that's a wet one, I'll put this in first. This is hing, also known as asafetida, which is actually a resin. It's a resin, a bark from a tree. And it's a powder, so I don't want to, powders will burn obviously very quickly. So I'm only going to momentarily put it, let that fry for a second. Now I'm going to put in the turmeric, it'll be a bit of a reaction. Put in tomato. Just stir that around a little bit.
The potato.
I want to give more heat to cooking the potatoes in a minute, so I'll put that at the back, it's hotter. Put this at the front, you can see it better too. This is some smoked paprika. I mentioned you could either use sweet paprika or smoked paprika. I personally like the smoked paprika. When we were cooking at the Freedom Festival in Wellington a while ago, I was using this in nearly every curry I made, and it turned out really good. One guy donated about 10 kgs of smoked paprika. It was ridiculous. I asked him to get me some, but I didn't think he was going to get quite so much of that one. Otherwise, I wouldn't have asked for so much. And then what I did, oh sorry, I didn't show you. This is some jaggery, some gore. So that's like boiled down sugarcane juice. We talked about that last week with the halva, the semolina pudding. So alternatively just sugar, just use your raw sugar or white sugar. Because I put tomatoes as sour, so I want to balance that sourness by adding a bit of sweetness. So with the jaggery, the gore is a good way to do that. There's unlimited ways of making this Palak Paneer, green leaves and paneer. This is just one way. Some recipes they don't use a tomato and don't use sugar, but this recipe does. So I mean, you can even leave out that if you're not into tomato, it doesn't agree with you, then you can even not put you could follow all the steps except for adding the tomato. But some people like that sour addition to this recipe. So now I'm going to put in my other dish, in the ghee, I'm going to put the potatoes. And I'm just going to add a little bit of salt. salt in there. I'll just mix that up a bit. Now put a tight fitting lid on whatever pot you're using and just let it do its thing. So at this stage I haven't put any water, but I added the salt, so salt will have the effect of bringing whatever water's in the vegetable that you're cooking, the salt will bring it out. So you can put salt in the beginning to do that. Then I don't have to add water, rather there's already water in the vegetable, just add the salt. And then hopefully we can get away with adding water. If you add too much water, then you won't get it catching on the bottom and getting that nice, crunchy, crispy, caramelizing, little burnt addition. So I want to try to get that, so I'm not going to add water. I'm just going to try to let it cook in its own juices. But for that to work, it has to be on a tight fitting lid. A tight fitting lid. Because you don't want it to get too dry, and then it won't just burn a little bit, it'll burn a lot. So you may have to adjust the temperature. If it seems to be burning too much, you can put it on a lower heat. So we cook this for just a few minutes, and then I'm going to add coriander powder. So once again, you can start with whole coriander, roast it a bit. There's the coriander powder. And grind it up, and then you'll have your fresh cumin powder. This is coriander powder, this is cumin powder. A little bit of that too.
So if you're putting garam masala, you still want this?
Yeah. So even though we've got coriander and cumin in the garam masala, but yeah, we're still adding more. So yeah, lots of... I mean, like I say, you can fiddle around, you can forget about the cumin coriander powder and just add garam masala. You can do that too. Talking about garam masala, we'll put that in. That's the garam masala. Now put some salt. Just let that cook for a sec, and we'll go over to our paneer. So get it out of there. What's the best way to do that? There's different. You can just chop it up and take it out, or you can just do this. This is super soft. You're never going to find this in the supermarket, but I like it like this, soft. So you cut it up to whatever shape or size you want. I'll give you an idea. If you want to convert a meat eater, that's addicted to eating steaks, big chunks of steaks, you can cut this paneer, the shape and size of a steak, and you can deep fry the hell out of it, make it really dark, and then you can put some tomato sauce or whatever over it, and you convert the steak eater, the meat eater. So yeah, you can do big sizes, small sizes. Normally it's sort of chopped into cubes. Normally it's sort of chopped into bite-sized cubes. Now in some recipes for this Palak Paneer, you just put the paneer like this into the finished curry. But in other recipes, you can deep fry this. So I'm going to show you both. Just putting it like this into the finished dish, and frying it. So I'm going to show you both. You know how to do it. So now I'm going to add our pureed green leaves into this. is our best friend, the chef's best friend, the spatula. It helps you to get everything and not waste anything in a very easy way. So that's really good. Now, I was going to tell you that there's another way of doing it other than pureeing it. So what that would be, you would cut up the green leaves, the spinach or whatever green leaves, cut it up reasonably finely and add it now. So you've got fried your spices, added your tomato, then put the green leaves in and cook them for whatever, 3 minutes, 5 minutes or whatever like that. So that's another alternative. You don't have to puree the spinach, you can just have it finely cut up. So if you were going to do that, you would add that now and just cook it for a few minutes. Now this is already cooked in puree, so I'm not going to cook it anymore. That's about it. This comes back to the boil, and we can put in our paneer. Just stir that. You want to stir?
I'm going to put the pot.
Now I'm going to take a little bit of this out, which you wouldn't normally be doing, but I'm going to take a bit out because I'm going to mix some of this with the potatoes when they're cooked. So I just want to show you about that. Yep. Now that we've added the spinach and it's sort of come back to the boil, now if you're just adding the paneer like this, you can put it in. And if it's still warm, I mean you've freshly made it, it's still warm, then there's no need really to cook it much more. However, if it's cold out of the fridge, you've bought it and it's cold and been in the fridge, then you can just heat it a little bit more at a low temperature. Yeah, don't want to cook this because it's so soft and it's already warm. And if you stir it at this point too much, it's going to break because it's so soft. And that's one benefit too of frying it. It makes it hard on the outside and soft on the inside, which is an interesting variety in the texture. But also it has the benefit that it won't break up so easily as what this one will do. But I'm going to take this off the heat now because I don't want to break that. So that's pretty much done. That's pretty much done. And our potatoes are cooking away. I'll take the lid off momentarily and show you what's happening in there. See, that's what I mean. That's what you want to get, like that. They're just a little bit browned on where it's been sitting on the bottom. So it's just browned on one side, so I'll just momentarily toss it around a bit so it can cook a bit on the other side too, get that flavour.
You could have put some smoked paprika there.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Johnny said I should have put some smoked paprika there, give it a smoked flavour. We can do. This is one of my big bags that I had about 10 kgs of. So let's put a bit of that. There you go. Smoked paprika.
But this way it smashes up a bit too.
Yeah, it will, Johnny just said, oh, this way it smashes up a bit. Yeah, it will. But that can be quite nice. That can be quite nice effect in the curry. Now I don't want that to have such a high heat anymore. It's cooking nicely. So I'll put it on a lower heat and put this on the higher heat, which I'm going to do some deep frying there. So let that heat up, and I'll just let this cook longer at a lower heat. And how you test it, well, I'll take the lid off and just poke it with a knife. But if the knife goes very easily through one of the potatoes, then they're all pretty much done. Should be done. Now let's go to our board now. We'll just talk a bit about the philosophy. Okay, so what are we doing? We're doing a curry made of green leaves and then the paneer or the curd. So it can be, like I've said, any kind of green leaves, whatever's convenient. Of course, there are some die-hard Palak Paneer connoisseurs that would say, oh, you can only do it with spinach. And the Hindi word for spinach is palak. So, technically speaking, if your dish is called Palak Paneer, then it should be spinach and not silver beet, not other things. Therefore, in many restaurants, they'll be selling this dish, but they won't call it Palak Paneer because they haven't just used spinach. So they'll call it Saag Paneer. So Saag Paneer, Saag is any green leaves, is called, or sak, Saag or sak. So Saag or sak is any green leaves. But if you say Palak, Palak means a particular green leaf, spinach. So that's if you're technically correct. Then if you use spinach, it would be Palak Paneer. If you use any other green leaves, it would be Saag Paneer. Okay. So what other green leaves can you use? I've used silver beet, Swiss chard, it's also known as chard or Swiss chard. You can use the leaves of beetroots, are fully edible and they taste good. So you don't just use the bulb, the beetroot, but you can also don't throw the leaves away. The leaves are very good for the health. So you can throw in some beetroot leaves after you've picked the beetroot. Radish leaves, you know, the leaves of the radish with the bulb, you're using that, but you can also use the leaves. Mustard leaves, they have quite a strong flavour, but very nice. You might not want to make it of 100% mustard leaves unless you really like that, but you might put a certain percentage of mustard leaves there, are delicious.
Sweet potato.
Yeah, so we've got a sample here of some leaves that we've used today. So what we've put in this one, not only the Swiss chard, so there's ones with white stems, yellow stems, red stems, so like that. I personally don't like to put the stems in it, so I've taken the stalks off. I removed the stalk and just used the leaf. Some people, like my wife, she loves the stalks, so I'm making this one. So
but if you're using the stalks, you can't just put it in and boil them, then it's not nice. You have to fry them along with the spices.
Yeah, so in other dishes, then the stalks might be used in other dishes and fry the stalks as well. This, believe it or not, is sweet potato leaves. So this is the leaves of a sweet potato or kumara vine. So these leaves are very good. They're very good for the health and nice taste. You can put them in your dal or your curry or whatever like that, just like you would any other green leaves. So we've put some of them in today's one. You wouldn't use the stem because it's a bit hard. But especially the end leaves on the stem, you can use those. This is black nightshade. Black nightshade leaves. A lot of people think that all nightshades are poisonous, but there is one that is poisonous called deadly nightshade, which is, like the name says, deadly. But black nightshade, or Solanum nigrum, the scientific name, is very good for the health. very good for the health. So this is and it grows like a weed in many countries on the planet. So, and if it's good for you, why not use it? So that's some black nightshade leaf there. So we put that in there as well. So any kind of edible green leaves, you could throw them in. It's up to you, like that. So the greens, any green leaves, they have iron, which is obviously we need that. To get the maximum iron from the leaf, it's good if you add lemon juice to the meal. If you combine the lemon juice with the greens, then you're going to get the iron. If you don't add the lemon, then you won't get the maximum iron according to all the medical experts, like that. So what you can do is just squeeze some lemon. You can squeeze some lemon on the Palak Paneer after you've finished, like that. And so a little bit about paneer. Another name, like I said, is curd. It's a fresh cheese. It's a lot easier to digest, this paneer curd, than that hard yellow cultured cheese you get from the supermarket, which is also so expensive. It's a lot cheaper to do this, and it's a lot better for your stomach. It's going to take ages for your stomach to process that hard yellow cultured cheese from the supermarket. So and it might taste good for the tongue, but not so good for the stomach. And that yellow cheese, if you add it in something hot like this, temperature hot, it'll melt, right? It melts. So you put it on your pizza and it melts. But this one, one good thing about paneer, you can add it into a hot dish, temperature hot, and it won't melt. It won't melt. So that's very good for cooking. You can use it for cooking. And it's a lot easier to digest as well. And it's a source of protein. As we mentioned, the whey has got protein. Also the paneer has protein and many other essential nutrients. If you're vegan, you don't want to use paneer. Like today, we're putting potatoes with the spinach as an alternative to paneer. But also, you could use tofu, and that would have a very similar look. I personally think paneer has more flavour than tofu, and some people say that soya is not very good for the health. So for digestion, I mean, my wife, she can't digest tofu and other soy products. So if you're sensitive to that, then paneer is the way to go. Otherwise, you can use tofu like that. Now, one other thing I thought to say, one thing we haven't added yet was cream. We're going to add cream to it, but if you want to make it vegan, or you don't want cream, you don't have cream, you could, when you boiling your green leaves, throw in some cashew nuts, and then they'll get blended up. They'll get blended up along with your green leaves, and that will create a creamy consistency. That's a way to achieve a creamy consistency. Or almonds, you could use, blanched almonds or sunflower seeds, even grind up sunflower seeds, peanuts, like that. You can blanch peanuts, grind them up, a nut paste, a seed or nut paste, to help you get a creamy gravy. And you could use that for any curry or that you want to create a creamy kind of gravy. And in Indian language, Hindi, if you're making a vegetable dish, the name for that is sabji. Sabji means a vegetable preparation. So we say in English curry, but hey?
S-A-B-J-I.
Oh, okay, she's saying S-A-B. S-A-B is stupid. Sabji. Okay, let's check out what's going on. I think we're nearly done. See if that looks getting pretty hot. We'll check out our potatoes. Look at that. That's perfecto. They break up a little bit, but that's good. It adds to the effect. Now we'll get our knife, check it out. I can tell it looks done, but we'll poke it anyway. Yep, gone in very easily. Yep, cooked to perfection. So yeah, if you don't want to use the paneer, then this is one way to go. And then you just put your green in there.
You didn't put any whey water in this curry.
No. Grindy gas, and I didn't put any whey water. Okay. Yeah, you can put some whey. Where's our whey? You can do that. Well, this has got lemon juice, right? So that way you got your lemon and your greens. And but yeah, I mean, obviously if you want it vegan, you can't put the whey. If you want it vegan, but if that wasn't a problem, you can put some whey. But it depends. Do you want it thick? Do you want a thick curry or sabji, or do you want a very soupy, liquidy one? So if you want that to thicken up, then obviously just boil it off, boil the liquid off a little bit, boil the liquid off a bit. But yeah, you could have just left it as it was. Yeah, like if you wanted a bit soupy. So that's done. Of course, that doesn't. Oh yeah, that's got all the spices in it too. Yeah. Yep. So that's got all the spices. Yep. That's good. Just thinking what's going on. Okay, now we're going to show you. Oh, I should have left some potatoes out of there because I was going to show you how to fry them, but that doesn't matter. So what you could have done too, with your potatoes, instead of cooking the potatoes like this, what you can do too, especially if you're going to fry paneer, you're already frying, so you could just put the potatoes in here like I'm putting this. You could, and just don't drop it from a great height and splash, or don't put your hand in it. Just gently let it go. And remember, like I said, if you want to convert your steak eater, your meat eater, then put a big slab in. Let's see what that looks like in a few minutes. So with this operation, you want it very hot. You want it really hot, because I want to brown it on the outside as quickly as possible. Because if you have it too low and it takes a long time to get cooked, browned on the outside, then it's going to get drier and harder the longer you leave it in. So I just want to very quickly, create that crust on the outside, then get it out. I don't want to leave it too long, so that's quite hot there, which is good. Perfect. Now we've got a minute while we're waiting for this to cook. If anyone has any questions or comments, feel free. Okay, so it won't be too far away. Let's just have a look. So you want a spoon with holes in it. You can flip it around a bit. Don't worry about, if some of them stick together, don't worry about that. You can separate them after they come out. Because if you try to separate them too much, you end up breaking them. You're breaking the delicate crust on the outside, and especially if the paneer is very soft, which this one is very soft. So you don't stir it straight away. When you first put them in, just leave it, even if they stick together or whatever, because when they're very soft still, you don't want to be breaking them. So I let it cook for a minute before I started doing this. And then gently come in from underneath and flip them around a bit if you want. Especially some of them might have sat on the bottom and got stuck on the bottom, so you can just release them from the bottom. So it's up to you whether you want to make them really golden brown on the outside or just lightly brown. So I'm just going to do it lightly. I've shown you anyway how to do it. So just let the oil or ghee drain a little bit.
So Jacqueline says, well, I learned the difference between saag and palak. I never knew that.
Okay. So we'll leave this big steak fella in a bit longer because we want to make a nice and brown like steak. So we'll leave that in a bit longer. But these other ones, we'll add it to our greens. And remember, there's one thing we haven't put yet, which is cream. Cream, so we'll put a little bit of that, not all of that. And we'll put our other paneer. So remember, usually you wouldn't be doing both. You wouldn't have the unfried paneer and the fried paneer, but I'm just showing you so you can do both as you like. And then just stirring it gently. Of course, what they do in some of the restaurants, they'll put the Palak Paneer in a bowl or on your plate, and then they'll just do a quick little swirl of cream on top. They have a little white spiral on it, so that's just cream. They've just spiraled some cream on your plate just for looks, to make it look fancy. So yeah, you could put the cream in here, or you could just sprinkle a little bit, swirl a little bit on top, or you could even not put it. Like I said, if you don't want the cream, you can just grind up some nuts or seeds along with it.
Or you don't even need to put any of it.
Yeah, no, don't put any of it. Just avoid the cream and avoid the nuts and like that. So that's up to you. It's still going to be nice. You don't have to add something to make it creamy. And what I want to just finish off, see, that's getting nicely browned now. Just to finish off, we'll talk about milk. So milk's very expensive, you know, to buy from the supermarket because, you know, if you're making a big amount of paneer, you need quite a lot of milk, which is very expensive. And also it's so processed. I got a friend that works in Fonterra, and he says that all the milk is turned into milk powder, and then they turn it back into milk. So it's so processed. It's doubtful, you know, how much nutrition is left in it. And they homogenise it and pasteurize it, means boil it up to a very high temperature and everything as well. So they've killed it really. So what you can do, make friends with a local farmer. Make friends with a local farmer and see if you can get some milk directly from the farmer, from the farmer's tank, and then you process it yourself. Like here, we make our own paneer from the raw milk we get from a farmer, and we just get it for like $1 a litre. You know, so whatever it might be, you know, some farmers will give 50 cents a litre, $1 a litre, whatever, but guaranteed it's going to be cheaper than what you're paying in the supermarket. So get the raw milk. You can make your own paneer. We make our own yogurt. We make our sweets from it. We drink hot milk called garam, which is put some turmeric and some cardamom and spices in it. Drink hot milk and all these kind of things. So that's one thing I recommend. Save money and get a better nutritional product. Get the raw milk from a farmer, and you're doing him a favour because Fonterra pay him peanuts. You know, we were told, the local farmers said they only get 25-30 cents a litre from Fonterra, and then they sell it for $2.50, $3 or whatever a litre in the supermarket. So there's a lot of middlemen there making a lot of money. So it's good, it helps your local farmer. You know, keep it local if you can. Source your ingredients locally. Grow what you can yourself. Get whatever dairy products. If you're not, ultimately we're looking at having our own house cow, our own milking cow. So then there'll be no violence involved. You know, we'll keep them there, the cow, for the rest whole life, and not kill the cow. We've got 2 old house cows now that were given to us, but they're very old, like 17 years old, so we're not going to milk them. So there you go. So you can have a nice paneer steak, a vegetarian steak, and then just pour some tomato chutney or sauce on top of that, and that's another thing you can do. So there's so many varieties. So many varieties. So thank you very much for joining us. I hope you've learned some things. I'd be very happy to get some feedback. If you make any of these things that I'm showing you, please tell me how it went, or if you have any questions as we go along or anything like that, or any comments. I'd be very happy to get some feedback. Thank you very much.